When it comes to video game terminology, the region of Asia normally refers to various countries in Southeast Asia, such as Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. This region is a very big and influential market for publishers. However, the Southeast Asian region is also one of the most linguistically diverse regions in the world. There are many different languages as each country's main language of choice, and this naturally puts publishers in a difficult position when it comes to localization. Despite these regions being extremely linguistically diverse though, proficiency in English is generally very high, and English is used as their common language in things like business. This means publishers are able to release their games in English and still be able to reach most of their audience, while saving a lot of money and other resources. Today's video will be taking a look at some of these Asian English releases, and more specifically, some of the games that have been released in English in Asia, yet weren't released over in the West at all. This means that the only way to obtain these games is through importing from sites like PlayAsia, who specialize in providing games from all regions to the global market, and have done for over 15 years now. But without further ado, here are 10 games that you can only get in English in Asia, and make sure to check out the link at the top of the description if you're interested in getting any of these games as well as any other Asian English releases. Number 10, Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Session. Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Session is the latest in a long-running series of rhythm games, and is in fact the second game in the series to get an English translation, with Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Master for the PlayStation 2 being the first. The series involves you playing a drum in time with the music, and the game features music from movies, anime, other video games, as well as a selection of original songs. Drum Sessions introduces a new multiplayer feature in which you can upload and compete against ghost data. By scoring higher than another player's ghost data, you can increase your online rank. The entirety of Drum Sessions can be played with a PlayStation controller, but it's also possible to import an official drum controller, which players may prefer and is also more authentic to the game's popular arcade releases. Number 9, Girls on Panzer Dream Tank Match. Based on the popular anime of the same name, Girls on Panzer Dream Tank Match is centered around the sport of Panzer, which is an exclusively female sport involving battling in World War II era tanks. The game's story is directly tied in with the Girls on Panzer feature film, featuring a recap of the movie's events while the characters comment on the events in visual novel style cutscenes. The game also contains an extra battle mode, which consists of missions directly inspired from the anime and missions that are original to Dream Tank Match. Then there's also the online multiplayer mode, in which you can participate in 5-on-5 tank battles. The gameplay is primarily objective based, with tasks ranging from destroying every enemy tank to surviving for a set period of time. And whilst gameplay is quite arcadey, there are also some more in-depth mechanics, such as how different tanks are affected depending on where they get shot. Number 8, Summer Lesson Miyamoto Hikari. Summer Lesson is a VR simulation game in which the player's objective is to tutor a girl for an upcoming exam and help her pass the test. The player does this by selecting lessons that raise her stats with the hopes that she'll pass the exam. There is also the element of social interaction and just getting to know each other. For example, you can select dialogue options in the middle of the lessons and answer questions by either nodding yes or no using the VR headset. One important thing to note is that there are currently also 2 other Summer Lesson games in Japan featuring different students to tutor. Whilst not available in English yet, an Asian English version of these have been announced to be coming sometime in 2018 in a double pack version containing both of the new games as well as extra DLC. Number 7, Gintama Rumble. Another game based on a popular anime franchise. Gintama Rumble is an action game that plays much like the Dynasty Warrior series and often involves hacking your way through big groups of enemies whilst trying to complete various objectives on a large map. The game follows the events of the anime, and you are able to play as various characters from the show, each with their unique playstyles and combos. There's also the Silver Orb mechanic, in which you can equip a character with orbs that offer a variety of effects. Examples of effects include stat boosts such as increased attack, and also active effects like regenerating health. Number 6, Super Robot Wars. Super Robot Wars is a mech-based RPG series that has many games released over in its home country of Japan ever since the first game in 1991. However, only a few of these would see an official Western release, with the last one being nearly 10 years ago now. Part of the reason for this is that the franchise is notable for being a big crossover between lots of different anime, manga and video games, and having all of these different universes interacting with each other. This means obtaining licenses to publish the games in other regions can be hard. In recent years though, there seems to have been a big push to release the games in the Asian region with English subtitles. All recent games have had Asian English releases, first beginning with 2016 Super Robot Wars OG The Moon Dwellers, and then 2017 Super Robot Wars V, and finally finally, most recently, 2018, Super Robot Wars X. Super Robot Wars X has also been designed as a standalone entry and was created with the goal of being easily accessible to new players, making it a great choice for people new to the series. Number 5, Gundam. Linking well with Super Robot Wars is the Gundam series, which is often a big part of Super Robot Wars crossovers. In recent years, there also seems to have been a big push to publish the Gundam games in the Asian English market, including some games that you won't be able to find over in the West. This includes Gundam Breaker 3 for PS4 and Vita, which is an action game with a huge focus on creating and customizing your own Gundam, with there reportedly being over 10 billion different customization options. There is also a feature called Parts Break, where both enemies in your own Gundam can have individual parts break during combat, leaving these parts unable to be used for a duration until they reattach. Originally announced alongside Gundam Breaker 3, there is also SD Gundam G Generation Genesis. Whilst Breaker 3 focuses heavily on the action, Generation Genesis is much more tactical and plot-based. The game is a turn-based strategy RPG that retells pivotal events from the Gundam UC anime timeline. Generation Genesis features 17 scenarios, each representing a different series in the franchise, and as it starts way back from the original 1979 anime series, and then leads up right to the modern entries, newcomers shouldn't feel overwhelmed. Number 4, Bullet Girls Phantasia. The third game in the Bullet Girls series, but the first one to be released in English. Bullet Girls Phantasia revolves around an all-girl ranger club, which trains them on using weapons and performing different types of military missions. The game sees you face against hordes of enemies, and you, alongside AI-controlled buddy characters, must blast your way to victory using a wide variety of weaponry. The series is also notable for having various forms of suggestive elements, such as its clothing destruction feature. This means that as you take damage, more and more of your clothes will get destroyed. This also increases the damage you take from further attacks. There's also something called interrogation training, where you are tasked with extracting information from the characters by touching them. Number 3, Full Metal Panic Fight, Who Dares Wins. Not yet released, but scheduled to be releasing in both Japan and Asia May 31st, this is the first video game to be created based on the Full Metal Panic series. The franchise is a classic, with it first being published as a light novel way back in 1998, and then spawning a wealth of other media including manga and anime. This series fuses the military, robots and school life, and the game retells the events of the anime, including the brand new anime that's just begun in April. Gameplay consists of strategy RPG battles, and it is also being developed by the same team behind the Super Robot Wars games. Number 2, Kamen Rider Climax Fighters. Kamen Rider is a live-action TV series made by the same creator as Super Sentai, the latter going on to become adapted for Western markets and turning it into Power Rangers, something that most of you are likely to already be familiar with. Unlike Super Sentai though, Kamen Rider will not see much success in Western markets. Over in Japan on the other hand, Kamen Rider is a huge and iconic franchise and has naturally spawned dozens of video games. Apart from a few very rare exceptions, these haven't been released in English, and this made the announcement of 2017's Kamen Rider Climax Fighters Asian English release a big surprise for all fans. Climax Riders is a fighting game set in 3D battle arenas and contains 28 different characters to choose from. Apart from the story mode, there's also online PvP, and here you can play both 1v1 as well as 2v2 against other players. Number 1, Dead or Alive Xtreme 3. And our last game for today is perhaps the most well-known Asian English game so far. Dead or Alive Xtreme 3 made headlines all the way up until its March 2016 release date over its lack of a Western release. This attention led to Play Asia smashing sales records for copies sold of any single title from any region in the history of the company. Much like the previous entries, the gameplay involves the Dead or Alive heroines going on vacation and taking some time to relax and soak in the sun. There are a wide range of different minigames that you can participate in, and these activities can also earn you money to buy new costumes and other items. In total, there are 9 different characters to play as, and these were selected based on a popularity contest between Japanese fans. There's also something called owner mode, where you can become the owner of the island and can date the girls and give them gifts. Speaking about the reasoning behind the game not being released in the West, Sony's company president Shuhei Yoshida explained, "It's due to cultural differences. The West has its own thinking about how to depict women in games media, which is different from Japan. Speaking personally, if it's a representation acceptable to the general people in Japan, I won't be concerned about it in Japan. It's a difficult problem. There are many reasons why games may be released in English in Asia but not Western countries, and just because the game's been translated, it doesn't mean that companies are always able to release it in all regions. There are a lot of legal and logistical aspects to releasing games in other regions. For instance, like previously mentioned with the Super Robot Wars games, licensing is a big reason some games don't get released. Things like the Japanese voice acting, the music, any crossover promotions and more. These elements can have licenses attached to their use that makes releasing them in other regions either hard or impossible. Some companies countries may be worried about certain games creating controversy due to cultural differences. Then there are examples where perhaps they feel that there wouldn't be enough support overseas to justify a release. With the rise in popularity of the Asian English market though, and the fact that all major consoles are now region free, more and more games are becoming available that wouldn't have previously. This video only listed 10 games that you can only get in English in Asia, but if you check out the Play Asia link in the description, you'll be able to find many more, with new games continuing to be released all of the time. What do you think about this growing practice of releasing English games in the Asian market, and are you interested in picking up any Asian English games in the future? Please let us know in the comments below and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on future game releases. Until next time, thank you for watching.